All right, folks. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 5 p.m. Before we get started, we acknowledge that the land on which we gather today is Treaty 2 land, traditional territory of Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe Cree, Assiniboine, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and homeland of the Métis Nation. We affirm our commitment to moving forward in partnership with Indigenous communities in a spirit of collaboration and reconciliation. First resolution today by Deputy Mayor Lachlan, seconded by Councillor Daly. Be it resolved that Council accepts the regular Council meeting agenda as presented. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Moved by Councillor Ray, seconded by Deputy Mayor Lachlan. Be it resolved that Council waives the reading and accepts and approves as circulated the minutes of the following meeting, and that's our regular Council meeting from November the 4th of 2024. All in favor? Opposition? None. Motion is carried. Move to the consent agenda. We have a couple of different items in the consent agenda today. There are a couple of accounts to be added to taxes. They are roll 0184300 in the amount of $33.15, and the owner did not pay the final water bill. And roll number 0196300 for $267.82, and that tenant did not pay the final water bill. And those are recommended by the Director of Finance and the Utility Clerk. We have a couple of different, just two proclamations today. I'd like to turn to, I think, Deputy Mayor Lachlan for the first one.
Thank you very much. Whereas community participation in municipal elections is important, and whereas community involvement in local government decision-making is essential to a healthy democratic system, and whereas community understanding of municipal government operations and the services it provides is of primary importance to meaningful participation at the local level. Now, therefore, we, the Council of the City of Dauphin, do hereby proclaim next week, November 24th to the 30th, 2024, as Local Government Awareness Week.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And now turn to Councillor Ray for the next proclamation.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas the International Day of Persons with Disabilities has been commemorated since 1992 to promote action and raise awareness relating to the inclusion of persons with disabilities. And whereas the theme for 2024, Amplifying the Leadership of Persons with Disabilities for an Inclusive and Sustainable Future, recognizes the important role that persons with disabilities play in creating a more inclusive world and emphasizes the importance of the participation of persons with disabilities in decision-making processes that affect their lives. And whereas the City of Dauphin is committed to following best practices in ensuring our community is accessible, user-friendly, and inclusive of all people's needs in order to empower and create opportunities for all people living with a disability to enjoy and fully participate in society. Now, therefore, we, the Council of the City of Dauphin, do hereby proclaim December 3rd, 2024 as International Day of Persons with Disabilities.
Thank you, Councillor Ray. A couple of other items. Be resolved that Council authorizes and approves the following closure of city departments for the Christmas season. And that's Tuesday, December the 24th, where closures will occur at 12 noon. And again on Tuesday, December 31st, 2024, where closures will also occur at 12 noon. Further, be resolved that any employee required to work during closure hours approved by this resolution be given an equivalent number of hours off on a mutually agreed upon later date. And further, be resolved that any employees who are regularly scheduled day off is December 24th or December 31st, that no additional time off shall be granted. There are a number of filing items. We have some information from the Association of Manitoba Municipalities, a member advisory note from Growing Manitoba Ag, their newsletter for November of 2024, the Health Plus newsletter from Prairie Mountain Health of November 2024, information from the Dauphin Ride program, and then a couple of news releases from the province. One is from the Premier, or they're both from the Premier, where one is an outline of the refreshed Manitoba Cabinet and new Cabinet appointments, and a list of the deputy ministers that have been added and some refocusing of portfolios. So those are recommended by myself and the city manager. So the motion is by Councillor Sobering, seconded by Deputy Mayor Lachlan. Be resolved that all items listed and read under item 5, the consent agenda, be approved and form part of these minutes. Questions or comments? All in favor? Opposition? None? Carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Daly, seconded by Councillor Ray. Be resolved that we accept as information the corporate report from the city manager, and that's for the month of October. Charlotte, is there anything you want to highlight in that report?
I think what I will highlight a little bit is the fees, fines, and charges bylaw. And just as a reminder, because we've been doing it this way for 12 years now, prior to 2012, all of the fees, fines, and charges were scattered in each individual bylaw that spoke to the event. So if it was the animal control bylaw and there was an off-leash fine, it was in the animal control bylaw. And there was, we have a bylaw that talks about all of our disposal fees, and it was in that bylaw. And one of the things we did in 2012 was we brought all of those fees into one bylaw. And each year we're able to easily review it and nimbly update it. So all of the fees are kept current without having to review 8, 10, 12, whatever it is, bylaws every year to make sure that the fines are keeping up with inflation and whatnot. So it is a big review that we do on that bylaw. It's a large bylaw, but it does bring together all of our fees, fines, and charges. It's a great opportunity for managers and employees who work with that bylaw or with those fees on a daily or a weekly basis to have some say in what they're finding working with residents or with users of our bylaws. And they also have an opportunity to look into what other municipalities, comparable municipalities, are charging for things. And that is how we take a look at that bylaw. The numbers in there or the values in there are not just taken as we don't just do a 2% increase or cost of living increase. We do comparables. We see how much staff time goes into it so that we can recover costs, things like that. So there's a lot of work does go into it by staff. So I thank everybody for that work, and it comes together nicely in the end. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Any questions or comments from any member of council of the city manager? And all in favor of the resolution? Anyone opposed? Motion's carried. Moved by Deputy Mayor Lachlan and seconded by Councillor Sobering. Be resolved that we accept the corporate report from the Deputy City Manager, and that's also for the month of October. Lisa, if there's anything you want to highlight in that report, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Boziak. I'd like to highlight that November is Radon Action Month, and I've been working with the Manitoba Lung Association to facilitate the implementation of a library lending program for the digital radon screening devices. So that program has launched, and 10 devices are available at the library for people to sign out, just as they would sign out a book. They can sign out a screening device for 4 weeks. I've also worked with Canadian Tire to ensure that they'll be stocking the digital screening devices for sale. And the city will be giving away 100 free radon test kits starting early December. I've organized an information session on radon on December 3rd at 7 p.m. at the Dauphin Public Library. So I'll be joined there by representatives from Health Canada and the Manitoba Lung Association to discuss radon, how to test, how to mitigate, and answer any questions. I'd also like to highlight that the Animal Services Bylaw is going for first reading tonight. Will be presented to Council later in this meeting. And the current Animal Control Bylaw has been completely overhauled and rewritten to reflect progressive trends and best practices in animal care and management from across North America. And I'm hoping that this bylaw will serve as a model for other municipalities to follow to provide support for animal rescue volunteers who are exhausted and stretched beyond their capacity. I just wanted to highlight some of the major changes in the bylaw. So the bylaw allows for an increase in the number of companion animals permissible. So under the current bylaw, it only allows for two dogs and 2 cats. The proposed bylaw going for first reading this evening would allow 6 companion animals, so no more than 3 dogs and no more than 5 cats. There's also increases in standards for the care of companion animals, including increases in the standard for outdoor shelters for dogs that are kept outside, tighter restrictions on tethering. So tethering would be permitted for no more than 4 consecutive hours and for a total of no more than 8 hours in a 24-hour period. And it also allows for lifetime pet licensing and a fee structure that incentivizes sterilization. So, for example, to license a sterilized cat, it would be free. And finally, just wanted to point out that it would also implement breeding requirements. So this would include the requirement to obtain a breeding permit for a fee. And this is designed to prevent the backyard breeding and the irresponsible and unintentional breeding of cats and dogs in Dauphin that is greatly contributing to the overpopulation of puppies and kittens. So after first reading tonight, the bylaw will be released to the public for community input and consultations. So stay tuned for some messaging this week as the bylaw goes out for public review. Thank you.
Thank you. Many questions or comments? Councillor Belmer.
Lisa, how are you going to give people access to look at this so they can give you feedback? Is it attached to the website, or what are the logistics there?
I'm working with the marketing coordinator and the ICT manager to work that out. I think there will be a social media post directed with a link to the bylaw, and then people can submit their input via the animalservices.ca email address. And I'm also looking at possibly having a portal online with like a guest book where people can submit their comments and everyone can see. But I'm working that out currently with the ICT manager. So we'll be releasing information on that very soon in the next couple of days.
And when did you want feedback by?
The bylaw would need to go for second and third reading on December 9th. So we would like to have that by the 6th or 7th would be great. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, great. Thanks very much for that, Lisa. So I'll call for the question, and all those in favor of accepting that report? Anyone opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Ray, seconded by Councillor Daly. Be it resolved that we accept the corporate report from the ICT manager, and that's for October. Any comments or that report from the IT manager? All in favor? Opposed? None. Motion is carried. Moved by Deputy Mayor Loughlin and seconded by Councillor Ray. Be resolved that the finance accounts, having been examined by members of council, be hereby authorized and approved. Those include 92 checks for a total of $711,648.17. There were no voided checks in the current or past range, and we had 5 electronic payments in the month of October, and those totaled $202,823.07. Questions or comments about anything included in the financial report? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moved by Councillor Daly, seconded by Deputy Mayor Loughlin. Be resolved that we accept as information the unaudited financial statements for the period ending September 24th, which include the general fund balance sheet and income statement and the utility fund balance sheet and income statement. Any questions or comments about any information in those reports? Call for the question. All in favor? Opposed? None. Carried. Moved by Deputy Mayor Loughlin and seconded by Councillor Stakalo. Be it resolved that Council accepts the information, the reserve report for the period ending September 2024. Questions or comments regarding that report? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moved by Councillor Daly and seconded by Deputy Mayor Loughlin. Be resolved that Council accepts as information the budget variance analysis for the period ending September 2024. Questions or comments? We've got a comment from the city manager.
That's probably something that would be interested in. I know that all of these financial reports are riveting and that you go through all of them in detail. But just want to highlight specifically that budget variance analysis. The Director of Finance starts in August, or just over on the second half of the year, to predict, are we getting close? Are we going to do are getting close to a surplus or a deficit? And if it's going to looking like a deficit, how do we avoid that? Because that's not something that we are able to do in our general fund. So as of the end of September, we are trending toward a surplus, but as you can appreciate, we're at that point, we're still coming in. The weather was great for October, so we will have a few more things done in October. Utility fund, though, I did want to highlight that. We are trending towards a deficit. And there is a process that we go through if we do run a deficit in our utility, and that's an approval of the Public Utilities Board. One of the reasons that we're looking at a possible deficit, City of Dauphin last September, so over a year ago now, applied for a rate study with the Public Utility Board, and we knew that it was going to take a long time, so we gave them basically a year and anticipated that we would have received approval of the increased utility rates by October 1st. When we've been in contact with the Public Utilities Board, and the person that we were talking to last said that she was working on the last review, and we are next. So there's no possible way that we can get it for October 1st, obviously, because we're well into November. Fingers crossed for January 1st. Because there's a review and there's a lot that goes into that. So that's the primary reason that we may be running a deficit for 2024. So just a highlight on that.
Thanks for that. Any questions or comments besides that? Call for the question then. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Moved by Deputy Mayor Lachlan and seconded by Councillor Daly. Be resolved that we accept the engineering staff report from the building inspector for the month of October. Any questions or comments regarding information in the building inspector's report? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moved by Councillor Daly, seconded by Deputy Mayor Lachlan. Be resolved that we accept this information in the Protective Services report from the Animal Services Officer, and that's for the month of October. Questions or comments regarding this report? No, all I'd like to just say is that the report's just a little more full of information, or has more information in it than we've had previously. So again, kudos to Lisa and others that spent all the time in revamping that Animal Services program. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none? Carried. Moved by Deputy Mayor Lachlan, seconded by Councillor Ray. Whereas in 2020, the City of Dauphin sponsored the Association of Manitoba Municipalities Resolution 17-2020, which resolved that the AMM lobby the province to review snow removal agreements with municipalities that maintain provincial highways and roads and negotiate fair and sufficient payments for municipal services. Be it resolved that Council accepts as information correspondence dated November the 4th from Dennis Volkov, the Executive Director of AMM, advising that on October the 3rd, the AMM Board of Directors decided to remove that resolution from the list of active resolutions and continue to lobby the province on this issue under a new resolution numbered 51-2023, which reads as follows. Therefore, be resolved that AMM lobby the province to provide a steep increase in funding to rural towns, cities, and municipalities who maintain provincial trunk highways within their municipal limits through snow removal maintenance agreements, and further be resolved that the AMM lobby the province to perform a study and or act on providing a consistent, measurable formula in the disbursement of these funds and further funds to municipalities performing the snow removal work on PTH highways within their municipal limits. Any questions or comments regarding this resolution? Councillor Bellemare.
Now that we have new roads at the south end, of course, that involves negotiations. So where are we at in coming up with a plan for who does what at the south end and how much we're paid and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, that is something that we have been working on. Our Director of Public Works and Operations has been in discussions with the province, and we are very, very close to figuring that out. There's a few things that we're I guess finalizing, but we anticipate by the end of the year we'll have that. We do, with the snow coming, we do have a plan in place to ensure that snow removal does happen. We knew, oh my gosh, for a decade plus that the city would be taking ownership of the service roads whenever those service roads came, and so those are part of the negotiations as well.
Don't want to put you on a spot, Mike, but you got anything to add? No? Okay, you're not on the spot then. Perfect. So cover the question then. All in favor, accepting that report? Anyone opposed? Motion is carried. Moved by Councillor Ray, seconded by Deputy Mayor Loughlin. Whereas throughout 2024, the province has conducted extensive consultations with more than 200 public safety stakeholders to collect input for the development of a comprehensive public safety strategy designed to address key challenges facing Manitoba communities, including violent crime, substance use, mental health, and systemic barriers to justice. Be it resolved that Council accepts this information, a Manitoba government news release dated November the 14th announcing the unveiling of the province's new Safer Neighborhoods, Safer Downtown Public Safety Strategy, which outlines a number of initiatives aimed at addressing the crime, theft, impaired driving, violence against women and girls, and the need for mental health supports in the first response to incidents of crime. Further be resolved that Council appreciates the province's commitment to a 2% increase in the provincial policing grant, which helps to offset the total cost of policing in municipalities and in municipalities responsible for policing costs, with the increase being particularly significant given that the RCMP contract represents the city's largest budget expenditure. And further be resolved that Council has a great interest in seeing the province's pursuit of the creation of a new justice centre for Dauphin, as noted in the news release of November 24th. Which will include culturally appropriate supports, educational resources, and vocational training to facilitate the reintegration into society, reduce recidivism, and enhance safety and well-being for the residents of Dauphin and the surrounding areas. Questions or comments I got on this resolution? Councillor Bellemare.
Besides really, really, really liking the last paragraph in that resolution, recently it was announced that the RCMP is moving ahead with the body cameras. So I think our public would be interested because it's an expensive item. Who's paying for that?
Us. Long story short, there was something that came out several years that the federal government said if body-worn cameras are implemented before a certain date, they will pay for it, and all the cameras that were implemented after a certain date, the municipal agencies contracting the RCMP would pay for it. That date came and went, I think it was last year. And so at this point in time, all the municipalities who are contracting RCMP officers will be paying for it. We have not gotten exact numbers yet, but the information that we did receive was starting in February, those body-worn cameras were going to be coming into Dauphin. They're phasing in. So it's not all at one time. But I don't know if that means phasing in all the detachments or they're phasing in detachment by detachment. That's maybe a detail that we need further information on. Also, there is the initial cost of the equipment plus the operating cost of it. So there's software, there's data storage, things like that the city, all municipalities will be paying for. And if there's a good thing, it's only for the number of officers that we have active in a year. So as the example, the City of Dauphin authorizes 15 members, but if there's only 13 members active in a year, we would only pay for 13 cameras as well.
Questions, other questions or comments? Call for the question on the resolution, and all in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Whereas the city was awarded a 120 space daycare center through Manitoba Education and Early Childhood Learning as part of the Canada-Manitoba Canada-wide Early Learning and Childcare Agreement. The total project cost is $5.84 million. And whereas the city's new childcare center will be located on Dauphin Rec Services property at the corner of 6th Avenue Southeast and 3rd Street Southeast, and will be operated by Parkland Campus Kids Incorporated, whose management team selected a prairie theme for the interior of the building with classroom names, color palettes, and accessory elements inspired by our local prairie landscape. Be resolved that council accepts as information a memo dated November 13th from the Economic Development Manager noting that an online campaign to solicit suggestions from the public for the naming of the childcare space yielded 40 submissions and recommended the selection of Prairie Park Place, which is the name that received the most votes, with 50% of the submissions selecting it as their first choice. Further be resolved that council agrees with the adoption of Prairie Park Place as the name for Dauphin's new child care center. Any questions or comments regarding this resolution? All in favor? Any opposition? Motion is carried. Thank you. Moved by Deputy Mayor Loughlin, seconded by Councillor Daly. Whereas at the regular meeting on August the 19th, Council accepted the Bank of Nova Scotiabank's proposal for the provision of comprehensive banking services for the City of Dauphin, and whereas pursuant to Section 173 of the Municipal Act, a municipality can borrow money for operating expenses during a fiscal year, but the amount borrowed must not exceed the amount collected in taxes and grants in lieu of taxes in the previous year. And whereas the Council of the City of Dauphin deems it advisable to authorize borrowing up to the amount of $5,120,000, be it resolved that the city does borrow the sum of $5,120,000 or such portions thereof as necessary from Scotiabank for the purposes aforesaid, and that the city's mayor and city manager be and are hereby authorized to make and deliver to the said Scotiabank the promissory note of the city for the money so borrowed, repayable on demand with interest at the Scotiabank's rate. Further be it resolved that on receipt of payment of taxes levied in sufficient amount to repay the sums borrowed pursuant to this resolution, the city shall forthwith repay the Scotiabank the full amount of said note with interest. Further be it resolved that council approves the city's borrowing limit of $5.12 million with Scotiabank and authorizes the security agreement between the city and Scotiabank to be signed and sealed by the mayor and the city manager on behalf of the City of Dauphin. Questions or comments? Would you like to? Charlotte would like to speak on it.
So probably you heard the resolution. It sounds a little different than maybe some of the resolutions that we usually write. This one has been approved by Scotiabank. So there's some wording in there that's from them. Furthermore, this is a really long way to say council's authorizing us to have a credit card so that we can use a credit card and kind of borrow against this amount and have a line of credit. That's it.
Questions or comments from anyone? All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Moved by Councillor Ray, seconded by Deputy Mayor Loughlin. Whereas the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Green Municipal Fund manages approximately $2.4 billion in programs funded by the Government of Canada to accelerate a transformation to climate resilient, net zero communities across Canada, be resolved that Council accepts as information a memo dated November 15th from our IACT manager requesting council support for the City of Dauphin's GMF application to the Climate Ready Plans and Processes stream of the FCM Green Municipal Fund for funding to support the development of a climate adaptation plan for the City of Dauphin, which is estimated to cost approximately $90,000, with 80% to be potentially funded by a successful GMF application. Be it resolved that Council supports the application for the FCM Green Municipal Fund to facilitate the development of a climate adaptation plan and authorizes the spending of any additional funds required above the 80% grant coverage to make up the total cost of approximately $9,000 for the development of such a plan. Questions or comments regarding this resolution? Councillor Sobering.
Yeah. Did we not do a climate adaptation and mitigation plan with Quest?
We did not.
Like, I think Dauphin, the city of Dauphin was one of the cities in Manitoba when they did a national climate adaptation and mitigation strategy. And Randy was at one of the stakeholder engagements. I was as well. I believe we have this.
Oh, okay. Let me look into that.
Is that different from the community energy and emissions plan?
Yeah, it's a second plan. The Eco West was charged with delivering, Quest was the consulting company, and they received money from NRCan, Natural Resources Canada, and they were struggling to find a city in Manitoba to participate, and they reached out to us through Eco West, recommended us, and so it cost us nothing. And they did a fulsome adaptation mitigation strategy, which involved the EMO, which was Randy, the insurance sector, our city, surrounding municipalities, the fire chief. It was kind of exhausted. We hosted at the Watson Arts Center 2 separate sessions, and it took over a year to complete. And then they presented us with a climate mitigation adaptation strategy. So if you go in the annals where all the plans are stored, I believe you will see it. And if you don't, it's probably in a digital version somewhere. But we did commit to it in a MOU, I think. So that might exist.
Okay, so point of order then, do we want to pass this resolution in case it's not there? Or do we want to just put a hold on this until we find out whether or not we have this? Who would advise on what's the best move?
Well, I can just say that the grant closes on November 29th. This is our last meeting before the grant is closed. Noting though that if we have something that is we would not apply for that grant.
I think you could take it up maybe after during the meal part. We could discuss the details, but I'm pretty sure it exists somewhere.
Okay, well, that's good advice. And I guess the only other then thing to possibly discuss is if it does exist, is there something else under this program that we could pivot and apply for to make sure that we don't see a potential grant program just disappear because, oh, we got that, so let's not apply for something that might also be needed or related. I know that time is sensitive, but comments on that, what do you guys think? Guys and gals think?
I would expect that if it were done several years ago, there would be a lot of changes since then that might need to be updated. So perhaps it would be worthwhile revisiting it. This would have been maybe 2019, 2018 that it was done.
Okay. So that's valid then. So let's vote on the motion and then just have the discussion and just see if we can find something and then maybe get a quick look at it and see if, it could be, something that Justin, that we would do that would be less intensive because we've got a template to already work from. So. Question then, all those in favor indicate. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. Thank you. Good discussion there, folks. Good pickup, Councillor Sobering. Moved by Deputy Mayor Laughlin, seconded by Councillor Stakilo. Whereas Manitoba Growth, Renewal and Opportunities for Municipalities, that's the Manitoba Grow, is an application-based 50% funding grant program designed to help Manitoba municipalities advance critical infrastructure under the key investment themes of renewal, innovation, and climate resiliency. Be it resolved that Council accepts as information a memo dated November 15th from the manager, our city manager, recommending that the city submit an application to Manitoba Grow under the public safety category for 50% funding for a top-mounted enclosed pumper truck, which is a fire truck, with the total cost of approximately $830,000. Further be resolved that Council supports the city's application to Manitoba Grow for this grant for the pumper truck. Questions or comments regarding this resolution? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We've got several of these, so it's another Manitoba Grow resolution moved by Councillor Daly, seconded by Councillor Ray. So I'll forego reading the intro, but I'll read the be it resolved that council accepts as information a memo from November 15th from the city manager recommending that we submit an additional application to Manitoba Grow under the roads, bridges, and active transport category for 50% funding for the resurfacing of 2 local roads with an anticipated cost of approximately $400,000 for each road. That council supports this application for Grow for the resurfacing of these 2 roads. Questions or comments regarding this application? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, here we go. Number 3, moved by Deputy Mayor Laughlin, seconded by Councillor Stakilo. Be it resolved that council accepts as info. Another memo. Our city manager was very busy on November 15th with memos. Recommending that the city submit an application to Manitoba Grow under the rec infrastructure category for 50% funding for chillers for 2 Dauphin rec service facilities, one at the Rotary Arena and one at the curling rink, for a combined cost of approximately $250,000 for each chiller. Further be resolved that council supports the city's application to Manitoba Grow for these 2 chillers. Questions or comments regarding this Grow application? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moved by Councillor Ray, seconded by Deputy Mayor Laughlin. Be resolved that council accepts another memo from our city manager on November 15th for the Manitoba Grow program under rec infrastructure as well for 50% funding for phase 2 and 3 of the development of Mamawee Park, which includes drainage at an anticipated cost of approximately $500,000. Be it resolved that council supports this application to Manitoba Grow for phase 2 and 3 of Mamawee Park. Questions or comments regarding these applications? All in favor? Opposed? None. I would like to second Councillor Bellamers' woohoo. These applications, I think, are critically important, but I also appreciate the intentions of them in the sense that this is all about growth and progress and not so much plugging holes or just fixing stuff that's already here. This is about doing some development. So again, kudos to staff for putting those proposals together, and hopefully we are lucky in getting some of that funding. I would just also like to casually say that I hope we intend to proceed with these projects regardless of Grow funding, that we figure out other great ways to get them paid for. Moved by Councillor Daly, seconded by Deputy Mayor Laughlin. Whereas according to the City of Dauphin's travel and expense policy, all out of province travel must receive prior approval by our council. Be it resolved that council accepts as information a memo dated November the 4th from the Economic Development Manager requesting permission to attend the 2025 Western Canada Economic Forum in Regina from January 29th to 30th, along with Councillor Sobering. Be it resolved that council accepts or approves this out of province travel request and authorizes the cost to be borne by the city. Questions or comments regarding this resolution? I just question who wants to go to Regina at the end of January, but all in favor? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none. Motion is carried. Sorry, Regina. Bad one. Moved by Deputy Mayor Laughlin, seconded by Councillor Ray. Be it resolved that bylaw 072/2024, being a bylaw of the City of Dauphin regulating the standard of care and management of animals within the city limits, be now read a first time. Any further questions or comments regarding this resolution? I know we spent a great deal of time on this, and several members of council and Elisa spent a considerable larger amount of time on it. This is great that it's finally in front of us. So call for the question. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none? Carried. Thank you very much. Moved by Councillor Daly, seconded by Councillor Sobering, be resolved that bylaw 08, 2024, being a bylaw of the City of Dauphin to prescribe fees, fines, and charges for municipal services, be now read a first time. Further questions or comments regarding this? All in favor of the motion? Anyone opposed? Motion is carried. Moved by Councillor Bellemare, seconded by Deputy Mayor Laughlin, be resolved that we accept this information, the following invitations from the AMM for the city's caucus meeting, which is on the afternoon of Monday, November the 25th, and further be resolved that expenses related to council and senior management attending this event be borne by the City of Dauphin. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moved by Councillor Stakilo, seconded by Councillor Bellemare, be resolved that council accepts as information the following community events: the Cram the Cruiser, Pack the Pumper 5th Annual Food Bank Challenge, which is occurring November the 22nd to the 28th, 2024. And the Radon Information Session, which is being held at the Dauphin Public Library on December the 3rd of this year. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Moved by Councillor Sobering, seconded by Councillor Ray. Be it resolved that council accepts as information the council's reports for the regular council meeting, and then we'll call for that question after we hear the reports. Let's start with the guy who made the motion, Councillor Sobering.
Oh, thank you. It's good to be first here. I get this month was actually, again, very quiet, but I did attend the Remembrance Day ceremony that was held at the Credit Union Place and at the Cenotaph. As usual, it was very well done, and it was good attendance. Other than that, I have been in attendance at a lot of economic development meetings, and there's lots of activity going on in the community. Hopefully that will, become projects in the future. Other than that, I've been notified by the federal government. We've been tentatively awarded a grant for the Dauphin District Handy Van. So there's some work to be done there, but that's good news for that organization. And as far as the cemetery committee, it's I believe Councillor Bellemare mentioned it last meeting, but it's worth noting again, we've completed half of the cemetery as far as standing up the monuments that are fallen on the ground. And I believe there is a proposal we are looking at for doing the other half of the cemetery in the spring. So I think that concludes my report, but that is all.
Thank you, Councillor Sobering. Deputy Mayor Laughlin.
Thank you. For me, November 4th, regular council meeting at City Hall. I also, it was also quiet for me the last couple of weeks, but I too attended the Remembrance Day service at Credit Union Place in the Cenotaph. Once again, a pretty good attended event. This past week on November 14th, I was at the Communities in Bloom meeting here at City Hall, getting ready for budget stuff for the upcoming year. And first big snowfall of the year coming up this week. I just want to take this opportunity to remind everyone to take it easy on the roads and be patient with city staff as they work to clear the roads. The first storm, as we all know, is usually the hardest when it comes to getting back into the winter routine. So I guess we'll look forward to that later this week. And that ends my report.
Thank you. Councillor Stakilo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For myself, November 4th, regular council meeting, and the Remembrance Day service on November 11th. I too just want to say thank you to DRS for getting the facility ready and turning it over as quickly as they do for different events that we're able to hold at Credit Union Place. And that does it for me. Thanks.
Councillor Bellemare.
Thank you. November the 6th, I was at a cemetery meeting, and further to what Councillor Sobering was saying, we're still working on getting web cemetery software up and running, and we just got 45 yards of soil thanks to all the excavations going on around us, so that'll be handy. 13th, I attended Dauphin and Area Welcoming Committee, and there was a good discussion there on how the federal government's decreased immigration numbers that were recently announced will affect our region, because we've benefited with all sorts of workers through those immigration numbers in the past. On the 14th, a Communities in Bloom meeting, and we are already starting to plan for next summer. I too attended the Remembrance Day ceremony. I always find those pipes so moving. And it was great to see people of all ages that turned up at that service. Even though students have services at their school, there were a lot of young students there as well. It was great to see. And I put many smiles on many cookies this morning at Tim Hortons. This week is Dauphin Rotary's club's turn to have their part in the Smile Cookie campaign, which is running until Sunday. And these are holiday cookies. So holiday themed, and they taste different than the other Smile Cookie campaign, just saying. So any Dauphin Rotary will benefit financially from this, and then of course they turn that money back into local projects in the community. And with all the recent and upcoming snow, make sure you check out the Toboggan Hill at Mamaway Park, because it's looking like toboggan season is starting. And I'd like to send some kudos out to the Ride Committee, which will be operating again this holiday season. I know like Brandon's group isn't operating, and a couple others around the province aren't, and ours is continuing, I think, 32nd year. So this is the committee that provides free rides home on the Dauphin area on Friday and Saturday nights during the holiday season, plus New Year's Eve. So if you want to call for a ride, you call the Friendship Center number, and if you 5707, and if you want to volunteer for this program, there's also a number for that, 204-638-1463. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. On the 4th, I attended the last regular meeting. On the 11th, I too attended the Remembrance Day service at the Cup. This last couple weeks, we've had a couple community safety well-being committee meeting dates changed, so it's also been a slow couple weeks for me as well. I just wanted to give everyone a reminder that the Christmas Parade of Lights will take place on Saturday, November 30th at 5:30 p.m. Hopefully the roads are not too slick to ride a bike on, and the weather's nice for everyone to come out to that. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. And Councillor Daly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also attended the regular council meeting on November 4th and the Remembrance Day service on November 11th. On November 12th, I attended the MMF Community Advisory Board meeting. Several announcements there. They've received funding to operate the Warm Safe Space starting this past Saturday on a 24/7 basis until fall of 2025. So that was good news for them. They're upgrading their staff to try and make sure they have enough staff to manage it. And we also discussed the collaboration among the agencies who attend that meeting to work on maintaining the clothing store once it closes at Parkland Crossing. I checked with Almost New Store and PRVSI. They are not able to manage the takeover of that. However, Shannon Janai, who runs the Warm Safe Space, is working on a proposal she'll present to Vice President Chartrand to see if they can manage it there. And this afternoon at lunchtime, I attended via Zoom on the Assiniboine College Planning Committee. I sit on the planning committee for the college, so I attended that meeting. And again, discussion with respect to international students as an issue and concern going forward. And that ends my report.
Thank you. I attended an Intermountain Watershed meeting on November the 5th, and just again find it interesting that there's a bit of I believe a bit of an untapped potential in accessing resources that the Intermountain Watershed organization can access both with the provincial and federal governments, whether it's on flood mitigation types of things, or water management, or trees and plantings and those kinds of things. So I found it kind of interesting to be involved in that group, but and access to some of their potential funding options for projects in the future, I think are possible. And we have a fairly reasonable relationship with that organization, and they are doing some work in Vermilion Park or along the Vermilion River near the Eric Irwin Bridge, doing some bank stabilization work. They had in this past couple of weeks they've been there. So just interesting to note the number of different agencies that are sort of working on our behalf. And on a similar note, I got some information from the Riding Mountain Biosphere organization. They're applying for a grant on our behalf indirectly to do some native species planting and tree planting up at Northgate and along the Edwards Creek as part of their habitat revitalization program. So that would be a completely funded external project. So again, we're supporting that application. I also attended an interesting meeting with a couple of members of council and regarding another housing possible proposal in our community with a number of outside agencies and organizations. So I just wanted to publicly state how positive it is that a lot of different people from outside of the community are looking to our community as a great place to make investments with housing and other projects. So more information on that as we can announce it. I attended with a few members of council on November the 12th, a presentation by MLA and Cabinet Minister Ron Kosteshin, where he presented member statements that he presented in the legislature to Carla Wolfenden and Clayton Swanton on their work regarding the 2024 Summer Games. And then also just attended an event in Brandon last week that was involved Glenn Simard, the new Minister of Municipal Relations, and had a chance to talk to the Minister and the Minister of Immigration, and also the Premier was there, and we had a chance to talk about a couple of things. And the Premier will be visiting Dauphin the end of the week, at an event that Minister Kosteshin is hosting at the Active Living Center. So we'll have another opportunity to have some discussions about some projects and some things that are going on in the community. So again, the relationship we have with the provincial government is really solid, and I just want to publicly state the good work that Minister Kosteshin and his staff are doing on our behalf in presenting our ideas to the province. And just as I close, the one thing that the Premier said to me, the first thing he said to me was, congrats on the listing of the healing center in their release regarding community safety. So it's on his mind, and he views Dauphin as a bit of a second home for him. And so I think that is great news that we heard that press release last week and then had the words right from the Premier's mouth. So that wraps up the reports. So call for the question then. All those in favor of accepting council reports? Anyone opposed? And then moved by Deputy Mayor Laughlin, seconded by Councillor Scarlett, be resolved, the council meeting be recessed at 5:50 p.m. All in favor? Opposed and carried. Thank you.